I'm really happy to be here with Louise Cavell Knighton, who's a colleague, but she's also become um, a friend, I'm happy to say. And we're just gonna have a conversation about forgiveness. And the reason that came to mind is because it's a subject that's cropped up a lot with my clients recently. Um, Kind of in a roundabout way. So not that they've come to me saying, oh, this has happened and I can't forgive, but they've talked about people mostly, or situations that have been created through somebody else's actions that has upset them in some way, and that they've found really, they've taken really personally. So although they don't really come up, they don't come to me saying, I need to forgive this person, or it's not that clear cut. That's kind of the area we're talking about. And I find it a really interesting area. And it's almost like we already know that forgiveness is a kind of good thing, but somehow we just can't, in some situations, we just can't get there. Does that kind of spark any ideas with you?
Yes, yes, it does. I was listening. Yeah, completely because like you say, things happen, situations happen, people happen, life happens, and we do take it personally. We take it very personally if we're having a very busy mind and if we're making judgments about the thing that's happening, the person that's doing it. I think we as humans are very, very, very good at judging everything. We judge everything a million times a day. Where we are, who we're with, what we're wearing, everything we judge. And I think we've been conditioned in some ways to think that we have to forgive. Like you said, that's the only right thing to do is to forgive. Um, but when you're in the middle of something, that's like the furthest away from what you actually want to do. You
Yeah,
feel like no, there's no way I'm
yeah,
doing that. I will not forgive and I will not forget is how we get
yeah.
into,
I
yeah.
actually that's had a friend recently, not a client, a friend who was talking about a situation that had arisen in a group of, that I'm part of, and in an interaction that had happened.
Mm.
Um, and it's interesting because the interaction had happened, but my friend wasn't even there,
Oh, yeah,
but she'd heard about it,
yeah,
or hadn't. She'd heard a little bit about it, and it had built up into a thing.
mm,
And you're so right about the judgment, because all these judgments came up about the situation and the other person that caused most of it, and all the other
yeah,
people.
yeah,
And it actually had become so real
mm,
that she was already just pulling away from the whole group.
yeah. And she hadn't even been there.
No.
Wow.
And it was, and the I know we're talking about forgiveness, but it was almost like, well, that comes into it because it's,
Mm,
you're taking something personally, and you're not, you know you can't forgive the situation and the other person. You're holding on to that, aren't you? So
yeah, very strongly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because I had to zip it a little bit, because don't give advice and all that unless asked. But it was so plain to me that, in this case, it was a classic example of how that that actually just injures yourself.
Yeah.
You
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, hugely. Yeah, absolutely. What springs to mind is I don't normally watch these types of things, but that they are interesting. Big Brother, things like The Real Housewives of dot dot dot, many places. When you just happen to flick them on the TV, you can't believe what's going on in that sort of incubator of whatever's happening, emotion. It's
Yeah,
just, and because you've just dropped in and you think, wow, really? Are these people taking this seriously? Why don't they have a proper conversation
yeah,
instead of knife stabbing and
yeah,
backstabbing?
yeah,
And it's just incredible to watch. And that's how humans get.
yeah,
Because, and only because we we want to protect ourselves. Is that really where it comes from?
yes, definitely. It's well, okay, so the way I see it is that our mind, the mind is its job is to keep us safe. That's all. And it does its best to do
Sorry.
that based on kind of insufficient data, you know. I mean, if you think about it, we were designed, the mind was designed to look to make us run away from, danger. So I often talk about saber-toothed tigers when we were hunter-gatherers and all that sort of thing. So,
Yes.
and we haven't really, the mind hasn't really changed from what it was doing then. It's still doing the same thing, only there are no saber-toothed tigers. But what's replaced saber-toothed tigers are the things we think we're afraid of, like, you
Mm,
know, other people's opinions, being judged ourselves, uh, being left out in the cold,
mm.
getting things wrong, all those sort of
Yeah.
things that kind of are beneath the surface that we're not actually even aware of, that we're
Yeah.
scared of. So our mind is keeping us, trying to protect us from that, and
Mm,
it can't tell what's real and what isn't.
absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, your friend that wasn't even in the situation,
Yeah,
but created it into a big
yeah,
thing to the point where she no longer wanted to be with those people,
yeah,
and they would probably be left wondering, well, why doesn't she come anymore?
yeah. It's like created a a movie.
Yes, in your
It's just the
head.
same as if you've
Yeah.
gone to the cinema and you watch a movie. The thing is, when you go to the cinema and watch a movie, there's a part of you that knows it's not real,
Yeah.
that keeps you, you know,
Yeah.
that it's exactly the same thing happening, only we're not in the cinema, so we believe it.
Yeah, we believe it is real. That's so true. Totally, we believe it's real
Yeah,
and personal.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But what I think is really interesting too is that you can have a long term, like really long term thing with another person
yeah.
that is about forgiveness, that becomes it be, it becomes the lens through which you experience that relationship.
Mm,
And I've talked about this before about my relationship with my dad, and that I didn't the word forgiveness didn't really come to mind, but there were things that that happened in my childhood and so forth, and the things, the way I thought about him, I held against him.
yeah.
And I think when that holding against him
Mm,
is a judgment. And
yes,
there were things I felt I could never forgive him for.
yes.
And that lasted for nearly all my
Mm,
most of my life.
Yeah.
from the age of when I could think about things like that up until just a few years ago, really.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when you have that undercurrent of I can't think of the word, but it's all sorts of things. It's resentment, it's
Mm.
blame, it's um, anger. You know, it colors your relationship. It flavors it.
It does.
And I remember that I had good times with Dad, but I remember I used to like I would turn up and ring the doorbell, expecting him to behave in a certain way,
Yeah.
which was it used to feel patronizing. I was undermined. What are all those things that made me
Yes.
feel like a victim? So I would be standing at the door, steeling myself
Yeah.
for what I expected to receive, right?
Yes.
But what I never saw was that he bumped into that. He opened the
Y-
door into that.
Yes. Yes.
So he didn't have a chance, did he?
No, no.
Because
No.
I was already armored.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
I
God.
wasn't, it doesn't mean I was ever rude, but I was guarded.
Guarded. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
And
word, I think.
he felt that as soon as he opened the
Yeah.
door. Yeah.
And I never took that into account.
No. Because yeah, because you couldn't see it then. And
Yeah.
that's the that's the thing is once
But it
you
was
know.
it was because I hadn't forgiven him
Yes.
for
Yeah.
the slights that,
Yeah.
and for so long.
Mm. But it's really interesting because now that we can see that our thoughts create our feelings and emotions, and that we haven't really known much better until now we can see that. It helps us to realize that um, that person was going through his life only understanding how life works from his own perspective, which was his own thoughts. And he might not have known that there were snide comments, sarcasm, undermining. He may not even have known that he was doing that. That might have been a pattern that he got from his parents. We don't know. So actually, it wasn't personal to you. It wasn't meant to be personal to you, but obviously that's kind of how it landed with you. So
Mm,
in that way, if you can, I've found, the same with my kind of family, but you can forgive because you realize they don't know better and they are innocently doing the things they do.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, you can point it out to them.
Yeah. And I did eventually.
Yeah. And sometimes that causes more friction.
But
What do you mean? What do you mean? Kind of
yeah.
thing. But
And I
yeah,
think, I mean, that's, you know, we've talked a lot about the kind of downside and all, what needs to be forgiven, but the real thing I want to put across in this conversation is that it can change,
yeah,
and it changes when you understand more about how we work, when you
yes,
understand where your feelings come from, when you understand the relationship between thoughts and feelings and then behavior. And when you understand what you just said, that every single human being is experiencing life in their own separate,
mm,
reality, their own cinema, their own film.
absolutely, yeah,
And I mean, that's what happened. I saw that. Um, I didn't it didn't I didn't see it in a big straight away. I saw bits of it
yes, yes,
as when I first got into this conversation, around the three principles. And I kept getting little glimpses. I remember in this house, my dad coming one day,
mm,
and I remember him sitting on the settee, and I suddenly looked at him and I saw somebody else.
yeah,
And I was just hit with a moment of
yeah,
recognition of, of a someone. And when I say someone else, I don't mean someone else. I mean, it was almost like I saw his soul. I saw his
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
goodness in him, you know. And those moments kept happening.
Mm,
Um, it didn't completely transform our relationship, but it slowly got better and better. And then I did have a major um moment when which I again I have talked about before, when I heard that um everybody's doing the best they can
yeah,
given
yeah.
um
Their level of
their level of
understanding.
understanding of their their thinking in the
Yeah,
moment. And
yeah.
I heard that. I'd heard it before, and I'd gone, yeah, everyone's doing their best. And I suddenly heard it, and
Mm.
it changed so many things for me.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
um
Yeah.
and it is amazing because you can try your best to forgive. People tell you, don't they, all the time,
Mm,
oh, forgiveness is good for you and you're just hurting yourself, etc., etc. And you know it, and you can put lots of effort, and you can, and actually, I sometimes think too that that turns into a bit patronizing when when you tell it's because I've had
yeah.
that happen. Um, you can upset someone else by telling them you've forgiven them
Mm.
if they don't think they've done anything wrong.
Very-
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, completely. I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, because I've had a situation where I've had sort of said to somebody, um, in the nicest way, but I can see how you have made poor choices through your life, and that's okay. This is where we are, and let's just move on and do new things, and your life is not stagnant. Let's just carry on and be positive, and if you can be positive. I think I found a quote. Can I?
Yeah, of course.
It's a Sydney Banks, very short, but he said, "As surely as rust slowly destroys the strongest steel, hate and negative thoughts erode the soul of humanity."
Wow.
Yeah, that's very cool. Because yeah, if you just let the hate and the thing just sit there in your psyche, and you're not letting it go, it's like a canker, and it rots. And like you say, you're then using that as a lens through which you see everything and everybody connected, you know, as well. And it's not true. And you can let it go. And I've had to forgive. And like you say, on an intellectual level, I need to forgive. That's the best thing. But actually, I've really, really let it go, because I've realized that we are all completely separate realities, and I want my reality to be nice. So, so I'm not dragging that with me. I've let it go. It can
Yeah.
just go where it goes.
Same.
I'm not dragging it. Sometimes it pops up and I feel a bit of anger, and then I'm like, no, I'm not doing that again. But noticing that it pops up and then I let it go again
Yes.
that's the game changer.
Yes. And the popping up it is just that.
Yeah,
It's like a little poke and goes, "Do you remember this?" And you go, "Yeah, yeah, but
yeah, thanks,
can you
but no
thank
thanks.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah." And I mean, again, I said this comes up with the people I work with, and they agree that
yeah,
intellectually to forgive someone is a good idea. They can see that,
yeah.
and they try to do that. And of course that's better
Yeah.
than not trying. It's
Yeah.
definitely better. But what I have found is that by looking in the direction we're talking about, looking at the psychology, looking at how we work, is because then it really it doesn't take the doing. When you see something new about anything, you just go, oh. And I remember when I finally this the kind of, like they say, the penny dropped or whatever, and I kindly went, oh, it was it didn't take any effort. I didn't have to
Yeah.
try and forgive my dad anymore.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
and what happened was that judgment turned into compassion. Like
Yes.
it just did. I didn't, and I know that um the last few years of his life were really pretty awful for him because he was ill. Um and he was, my mum had died, so he was kind of on his own really, or with us kids. And then he was in hospital for a long time, 3 months,
Mm.
and then home. It was all really, really difficult for him.
Yeah.
And it was difficult for us because he was not, he was
Yeah.
not a particularly patient. He was,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm sure that if I hadn't had that realization about that, I don't know how I would have coped. Well, I know I would have, because I know that now too. I would
Yes.
have coped, but the last couple of years, my relationship with my dad became a relationship that was much more healthy.
Good. Yeah.
And I did actually have a conversation with him about, I kind of called him out on some stuff,
Okay.
which was, I never thought I would. And it was so interesting because most of it he denied, but that didn't matter. And I felt a great sense of relief that I'd actually
Yeah.
just said that, I'd spoken it out, spoken
Yeah.
about my memories, and spoken that. And although he did deny most of it, he changed towards me.
Wow.
So something, even though he didn't openly sort of comment on my, what I spoke about,
Yes.
he definitely, it was almost like he knew I knew.
Yeah.
It was that kind of unsaid, and our relationship the last couple of years was so much better, so much better.
That's fascinating because then that almost speaks to the fact that he saw that you were in your reality of that's how things affected
Mm,
you.
yeah,
And whether or not he agreed it or denied it, he just saw you in a different light in what,
yeah,
what you'd gone through.
yeah.
It's,
It's like
I,
we talk about what's true, don't we?
yeah,
So I remember that you did this kind
yeah,
of is true.
yeah, yeah.
And
What?
that's what I'm talking about. That shift from,
Yeah,
I didn't need him to agree with me and say, yes, I did, it didn't matter.
no,
I'd spoken about my experience.
yes,
He
yeah.
didn't, he accepted it, didn't really comment, but he then changed towards me, and it's actually really difficult. It's difficult to describe it.
Yes.
Um, but whatever happened, it was definitely something to do with understanding more about each other and how
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to yeah, obviously I get wrapped up in my own thoughts about people and things and what happens and this but then I quite often come back to I just kind of see people as even though we're adults, I kind of see people as children. And when you observe people's behavior, It's like they're just big children, like in a playground situation. The those two are having an argument. Those two are, have got their arm around each other, laughing, and these two are doing this, and these. It's just life happening in a playground, but we just happen to be bigger with different clothes and a different language, But really, we're just big kids trying to work it out as we go along, and so, so we're, when people have been petulant and all these different things. It just brings me back to, yeah, that's really interesting. What is their reality in this moment? What are they thinking about?
Yeah. And that's I guess, that's if there are any tools in this, and I know we talk all the time about, we're not really offering tools or strategies, but certainly I think a tool is to, be curious,
Yeah,
if that could be a tool. I can't
yeah,
believe I didn't turn my phone off, so makes our conversations very real
yeah.
because it's not AI.
No, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, curiosity is basically solves everything, doesn't it? Because what even like political things are happening, or you know things happening in the world that seem to revolve around some sort of control. It all comes down to, what is going on in that person's head, and like I say, petulance and
Yeah. And we know that conversation is the best way because we talk about diplomatic,
yes,
in negotiations and going down the a diplomatic routes or whatever, but in any situation. So we know it,
yes,
but we only know it intellectually. We don't know it spiritually or whatever the word is for what isn't intellectual.
yeah, yeah,
What's the other
yeah.
word? But
Um, I don't know. I can't
like,
think of a word. Well, yeah, intuition and
yes, that's the word.
yeah,
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 intuitively.
intuitively, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, goodness me. I love our conversations.
Yeah, me too. Really
So
interesting.
I'm gonna put you on the spot on
Okay.
camera
Oh, okay.
because I so love these conversations. I think we should do more
Mm, me too.
and make it a regular thing.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to do that. I've been thinking about that myself. Like, this is so fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, how can I do more of this? Who could I? But yeah, let's do that together.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get some feedback with anyone who actually watches this. So,
Yeah. And if there's a subject that somebody wants us to talk about, we could do that too.
yes, that would be great.
It
So,
would be great.
if you're watching this, anybody on the recording, I know there's nobody here live at the moment, but that's okay because we're just starting. You're honored to say this is the first one of a regular series of conversations between me and Louise.
Hooray! Brilliant.
So, and we would love some themes to talk about. That would be great so that
It
we're,
would be great.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we don't
Yeah.
worry though, because we will come up with stuff.
Yes. Yeah, we have our own ideas too. Yeah.
So let's round this off. What would you say as a kind of like a tip, for someone who's in a situation where some of what we've talked about kind of, lands for them and rings true, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm kind of there." What, what? I'll come up with something too. But what would you
So,
offer?
about forgiveness, I think you have to look at it as a self-awareness and a in a way, self-preservation and I was reminded of that thing people say where what other people think. is none of your business.
Oh yeah.
So
Exactly.
essentially, I need to forgive the person, the situation, the whatever, because then I can let it go. It's not about them. I don't even need to, you know, that doesn't even need come into it. It's about me and taking care of myself and just letting that go. Just let it go. Not to say that, you can't sort of stand your ground and say to somebody, that wasn't right what you did to me, but, I'm moving on. You can say that. There's nothing to stop you saying that in certain situations. But yeah, it just makes life so much more peaceful to just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I think for me, I mean, my go-to from Sydney Banks is that, everybody is doing the best they can, given what makes sense to them in the moment. That's like my mantra for
Yes.
everything. So, and anyone who hasn't heard that before and would like to hear more about it, that's what we're here to explore. I think my just simple is, you have to communicate. And as
Yeah.
scary as it might be, to take the time to be curious,
Yeah.
ask. Um, One of the principles I learned in natural horsemanship was, it was the top of one of the top of the list, second on the list was, don't make or teach assumptions.
Mm. Yeah.
I think that's my. I'll leave you guys, whoever's listening to this to this with that one.
That's perfect. Lovely. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, this has been lovely. Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Sharon. It's wonderful.
So I'm going to see if I can find the stop record button and thank everybody else, and we'll see you next time.
Next time. Thank you.
Bye.